Alright, let's talk Thunderbolts. Now, I just got out of a second watch of the Thunderbolts just a few hours ago. On a personal level, the movie does a lot of things that resonates with me. I mean, I have a whole script written for this video, but I'm kind of just gonna go off the cuff and just talk about how I feel about the movie personally, what each character means to me on a personal level, how the themes of the movie work towards making it better, how the story unfolds in a natural way, and how ultimately I think that this Thunderbolts team, or spoiler if you haven't seen the new marketing campaign they're doing, how this new Avengers team, in my opinion, feels more like a family than the original Avengers. And I'll explain my reasoning in this video. What I think the movie has going for it well is it knows that it is a bunch of B-lister people, a bunch of side characters from previous Marvel projects that people don't necessarily care about or just don't have enough care for them compared to your typical Avengers like Captain America, Spider-Man, Hulk, Thor, etc. And they're self-aware of that. Like, they know that they're a bunch of losers. There's a whole sequence where John Walker is being a complete asshole in the first like 15 minutes of the movie where they're meeting the Thunderbolts. He's basically saying how Ghost is a reject of S.H.I.E.L.D., how Yelena is a Red Room assassin that just hires for kill now, and then he says how he's like this perfect man, and he's like, well, I used to be Captain America. And then Yelena and Ghost just laugh at him, and so like, and they know that they're losers, right? And the movie leans into it, and it makes the team gel that much better. It makes their whole bonding work on another level. But their bond is something that I'll get into later that makes them just fit perfectly together. And the driving force of the movie is the message of mental health. Through and through, it is the one thing that is constant throughout the entire movie, and it flows through the movie's characters. Speaking of those characters, let's talk about the main one, Yelena. Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh, is absolutely the main character of the show. She steals the show. She does an amazing job at portraying this character who's at a point in her life where she has lost her sister. She's only a hired for kill person, a mercenary. Later in the movie, she breaks down, and she just, in such a sad way, breaks down how a lot of people go through the day. She goes on her phone. She goes to work. She comes back from work. She drinks. She goes back on her phone. She looks at things that make her unhappy. Goes to sleep. Repeats. She's in this sequence with Red Guardian, Alexei. All she's doing is she's going through, looking at her phone and thinking about all the terrible things that she's done as a person. Because killing is the only thing that she knows how to do well. And it's a constant for her. In the first 5 minutes of this movie, it is about Yelena. And the first thing she says is, "There is something wrong with me." She says she doesn't know how to describe it, but it feels like a void. And coincidentally, the void is this character in the movie that is a driving factor in the climax. Her struggles with the past and the traumas that she has with losing her sister and all these things bundled up, how she's alone, she has no one to go to. It resonates with a lot of people. And her own mental struggles are mirrored with the next character I'll be talking about, who's arguably just as important as Yelena in this movie. And that is Bob, Sentry / The Void. Bob, or Robert Reynolds, is a character from the comics known as the Sentry with his split personality called The Void. And he's played by a brilliant actor named Lewis Pullman. This character is such a complex character that they've introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Arguably one of the best character intros I've seen. His character embodies the main message throughout this entire film: mental health struggles. He struggles with having the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And his relationship with Yelena throughout the movie is one of the highlights. And their chemistry and just him asking her questions about how you deal with this depression, how she deals with her depression. And at first she's joking that you just got to push it way down. Just push all the way down until you can't find it anymore. When she realizes for herself, you can't do that. that's not going to work. It just makes it worse. He's such a tragic but fun and happy person. He's also one of the most relatable characters in this film to grasp towards. As you see, as I'm going through these characters, you're going to see a lot of similarities that pulls them all together. So let's go to the next one. And let's talk about John Walker. With Walker in his previous installment with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he got a lot of hate, but his character's complex, and he really shined in this movie. He's an asshole. He is an asshole through and through. From the moment you see him to the end of the film, he's still an asshole. But they show his mental health struggle with his family life and how at home his wife took his kid because he's so caught up with how the world perceived him as Captain America, with the decision that he thought was right, with the decision that he made when he killed that terrorist who killed his best friend. He believed it was right, and he thought he did exactly what the U.S. military taught him to do, right? He was the United States' best soldier, and they pulled him out under the rug. First 5-10 minutes when you're with him, he's like, wow, this guy is still a dick. He's funny, but he's a dick. And then when Bob touched him and it brought him into his shame room, it just humanized him so much. And it made his character way more complex. And I loved it. The Red Guardian. Alexei Shostakov. He was just the comedic relief of the team. He fit in perfectly in that aspect. He was probably the only person on that team that wanted to be part of a team. He wasn't overly loud with his humor, but when he was needed for the serious moments with Yelena to bring her back down and to give her the push that she needed to step out of her own shadow, he did it perfectly. Now with Bucky, he was one of the main Thunderbolts in this film, but he didn't get the same treatment as Yelena and Bob did, because we've already seen the Winter Soldier's past. So there wasn't necessarily that for Bucky. But in this film, Bucky kind of assumed that more leadership type position. Like, he brought this team of misfits together to go to New York and to stop Valentina from using the Sentry, Bob, for her own doing. He went out of his way of being that congressperson to becoming the hero that he was meant to be. And I think it's a beautiful arc that he's been on. I'm very excited to see what they do with Bucky in Doomsday. And then with Ghost, there's not much with Ghost, unfortunately. I did like her character in this movie. She didn't get a lot of screen time, which sucks, but she does a lot of things that are good for the team. She bonds well with Walker, but that's about it with Ghost. And with Taskmaster, well, she got one line. Damn, Feige, you are cold as ice. And the catalyst of the entire film that brought this team together was the Void. The Void is the physical embodiment of depression, of loneliness, of darkness. He's the physical embodiment of Bob's inner mental health struggles. When New York is up against the Void and people are being shadowed, the only person that does not run away from this Void is Yelena. Yelena doesn't shy away from the darkness, and she walks straight into it, and she goes through her shame rooms, and in her shame rooms she finds Bob in his safe room. And this is where the movie really flips. You see Bob's past with his abusive father and him trying to step in and help his mother, but his mother saying, Bobby, you just make things worse. It was sad. It was really sad to see, but Yelena knew how that felt. In that moment, it was a complete opposite from when she met him in the vault. She consoled him. She was there for him. It was a beautiful moment. And when the entire team breaks into Bob's safe room, they'd all been through their shame rooms, but this catalyst of the Void, of their own darkness, is what brings this entire cast of misfits together. And it works so well. They get to Bob's final shame room, and it's where he was experimented on in Malaysia. At his darkest point, and his last ditch thing was to take this experimental test to make him something. And really, that is all that every single one of these characters wants to be. Yelena wants to be something more. She wants to have purpose in her life. Bob wants to be someone. Ghost wants to be someone that isn't this SHIELD agent. She wants to be more. Walker wants to be more than a failed father and a failed husband. Alexei wants to be a hero again. And Bucky wants to find his purpose again. This is probably the only time with defeating a villain by the power of friendship, or whatever you very critical fans like to call it, works. It absolutely works, because that is what brings the team together. Bob is the last person who is trapped in his darkness, can't get away from it by himself. The void pushed everyone away from him, and he was telling them, we will always be alone. And he starts to try and defeat this darkness with more anger, which only puts fuel to the fire. The rest of the team, knowing, they go and help him, all headed straight towards Bob. To do what? To give him a hug and to let him know that he is not alone. Peak cinema. Peak cinema. Every single character were struggling with a way to save themselves. But in that moment, all of them were able to save someone else from themselves. And it just clicked. And that is why I will stand by this. This is way better of a family than the original Avengers ever were. The original Avengers were put up by the government, by SHIELD, to protect the world. But as we saw throughout the movies, they all kept secrets from each other, and it split the group. There's a lot of trust issues with that group. They're still a family, don't get me wrong, and I love those Avengers. But this new Avengers team, this Thunderbolts team, they just feel so in sync with each other. They feel like they belong with each other. They give me same vibes as the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians feel like a real family. The Thunderbolts feel like a real family. I think it makes this movie and this team so good. What can I say? Shared experiences, shared trauma. People latch onto that, and it's true in real life, and it shows in this movie. I think what Marvel has here works, and they need to do it with Fantastic Four and the rest of the Avengers movies, and from here on out, because this movie, this team, brought me back that old Marvel feeling. It's a beautiful movie, and I highly, highly recommend you guys going and watching this movie. Well, thanks for stopping by the video. I really enjoy talking about Marvel, Star Wars, anything superhero related. So if you're interested in that, just let me know in the comments down below. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your support you've been giving me on the channel to make things that I like doing, and to see you guys reciprocate those feelings is it's a pretty cool feeling, and it means a lot to me. So I appreciate that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the video, and I will see you again next week. Take care.